Oh, so we just listened to Blue Bossa, Joe Henderson. I just wanted to see, um, might be interesting what people heard. Um, I might go around the room and just see what's one thing you heard, Joel.
I heard. I'm gonna make it two things. It was very staccato and percussive, and it seemed like the quarter notes were like double dotted, where it was like da 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 instead of like eighth note that was more like a 16th note lead into the next measure. So it was
Mm-hmm.
very the notes were very extended and exaggerated as opposed to what the lead sheet shows.
Yeah. Cool. What what did you hear, Val? What's one thing?
Well, I could, for me to tap my toes or whatnot, it was the subdued background music versus the solo. The solo, I didn't feel like I could. I thought, well, I don't know what the beat is, but then I listened to
Hmm.
the low part and this quiet part, and I said, oh, there's where the beat is.
Yeah. It takes a while for sure to get the feel for that. Cool. How about you, Paul? What's one thing you heard?
You hear me?
Whoops.
Am I here?
We're not hearing
You're,
you.
you're there, but very far away.
Hold on. I've got
There
a
you
pile of equipment on my desk right now. Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. What do I hear? What did I hear? I think I was occupied with the tone of the trumpet. I was enjoying that.
Oh, cool. Awesome. How
Uh,
about you, Daryl?
Kevin, some other folks have already said it, but the background was, I was more interested in the background rhythm of that sound. It was in the background, but you could really, I don't know, there's something I could hear that sounded cool.
Yeah. Barbara, anything jump out at you? Get you unmuted here. Well, while you're unmuting, we'll have Monica. What did you hear, Monica? What's one thing you heard?
I heard that, brr, 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 the two tone thing that was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a fun sound. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty amazing. Um, Barbara, we'll come
Okay,
back to you. There we
okay.
go.
So I found it interesting that he just played it over and over. I mean,
Hmm.
I know he each time changed it up a little bit, but he got so much out of those four lines.
Yeah. And is that is kind of gives us permission to play the melody and maybe vary it a little bit, play the melody in different
Exactly.
places for sure. Yeah. And Christine, what did you hear there?
Well, I'm fascinated by it's kind of like I hear some bebop, but I also think, well, here's the swing because I'm used to, feeling that
Yeah,
swing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and it's not swing, it's not bebop. It's like it's so creative how
Mhm.
I guess he went to Rio or something and just it changed him.
Yeah. For
It's
sure.
fantastic. You
Yeah,
really, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if you're looking for the um, triplet feel, may not be there. And if you're looking for, certainly downbeats, that's not where the action is.
Yep.
Ghazi, what did you hear in that?
Well, I thought it was fascinating because, in a way, at least how I'm hearing it, through the program, everything was of the same volume or enough of
Mm.
a volume so that I could hear. It was almost like Preservation Hall meets Copacabana.
Ah, Wow.
And as a result, I could imagine, if you're doing some dancing to it, you could have people doing entirely different dance steps, and they would all be in sync with each other. It
Right.
would all be a nice panoply, a visual panoply as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, and thanks everybody. Yeah, listening is just kind of the thing, with music. It's always fascinating to find out what others hear in things. I just kept hearing the little side stick and tap, 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 and trying to kind of just go and down. There's like a every other measure, there's like a downbeat in the thing, but it's very free. But it's all upbeats, offbeats. Yeah, and also I would just make this observation for something like this, that there's, I think sometimes, the idea of, oh, Blue Bossa, how's that go? Here's the lead sheet. Okay. No one ever played it like that. This is just like a, consolidation of the basic melody. And it's not like, somebody bought the manuscripts from Mozart's wife, It's not like that. And there were no manuscripts, probably. And so these tunes, like folk tunes, in a way, kind of a lot can happen with them. And the harmony is even more open to interpretation than the melody. And, one thing to consider is that even a trumpet and a saxophone would play this different because of the voice of their instruments. But a guitar player or a piano player, there'd be like 4 different ways to play this melody, and the guitar can't do what the piano can do or what the trumpet can do, for instance, and the trumpet can't do what the piano or the guitar can do. So it opens up other possibilities, which makes this like a living document, because there's it's like it's either good news or bad news. There's no right way to play it. There's no wrong way to play it, really. So usually people have a problem with one or the other of those. Well, there's got to be a wrong way to do it. Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. And then the second kind of idea for this to think about whenever it's like, oh, here's a bossa nova. Like, I know in the uke world, a lot of times there's like, oh, here's the first strum you need to learn. Down, down, up, down, up. That's it. That's a one measure pattern. And people think, oh, that's the thing. Or that Kevin said this is bossa nova. This is the pattern. This is one common pattern. It's a rich kind of music, and Brazilian rhythms are intricate and so elegant and stylized, just we're getting our feet wet in this, getting introduction to it, but I certainly don't want anyone to have the idea that like this is set in stone and they've got the pamphlet of bossa nova, and yeah, we're just getting into it. Well, from here, I feel like throwing out my entire plan, because I think it makes, you could start anywhere with any of this, but I really think, since Christine mentioned that, this pattern, this bossa nova pattern, I think we'll start there. Common bossa nova rhythm practice. I can explain how this works and what's going on here, but also, note that a guitar is a common instrument in Brazilian music and like played like a classical style. And so the first thing here is that the strings are divided between the fourth string with only the thumb and the first, second, third string with the first, second, third fingers. And so there's no like strumming. So that is thing number one. And if you haven't experienced much of that, I'll walk you through it here. And let me pin this video for our people watching at their leisure. So the first thing I would like to start with is just getting my thumb out of the way of the fretboard here. You know, I could strum in the sweet spot up here, but I think for a finger picking approach, I'm going to start here. So my thumb on the G fourth string, just kind of resting here. The angle I'm going to take is then to just have my first finger just inside that, only on the C string. That's the only thing that'll touch. My second finger just inside that on the E, and my third finger on the A string, first string. So that, and then playing what our Australian uke friends call the Z chord, and just kind of even getting a feel for plucking all at the same time. And you can even kind of experiment with that, you know, it sounds like very small shrink wrap bubble stuff, you know. Just kind of getting a feel for that. If this feels too much, probably not quite ready to then start a bossa nova rhythm with this. But I want to show what's going on here with the rhythm. The rhythm is only for the right hand, and we don't need this finger, so we've got just these right here. And the pattern, as I look at it, is 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 3, 4. But the thumb is only on beats 1 and 3. So it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's, believe it or not, the easy part. 1, 2, 3, 4, like a country bass line. Boom, 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 that kind of rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that, where it says thumb only, that's the second stanza. That's all that is. Is that making sense, Christine?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to get to the beginning last. So then the next part of this is fingers only. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's just plucking with the fingers. 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I have the first, so it's a 2-measure pattern for this. And this would then be 1, 2, 3, and I would probably just wait on that second measure and just leave it blank. So I'd do something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I left these last 2 stanzas blank so that you could write in the rhythms yourself if you need it. They're written above, but that is, you never get too much practice at that. The second measure of this pattern, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 3, 4, 1 and 3, 4. Thumb, fingers, 1 and 3, 4. That thumb is just doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 1 and together, 1 and 3, 4, and 3, 4. So practicing along, listening to those, that is going to get your right hand in shape, and then the beginning to put the whole thing together. 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 3, 4. So a couple of things that come to mind, ways that this could go wrong. One is that I'm playing like at too much of an angle here. Like, you know, straight down. I want to have this kind of nice angle where the thumb is on the outside here, the fingers just fold nicely, kind of a 45-degree angle. And you may say like, oh, I'm getting too much finger under here, and if I do that, this is, I can't really move. And if I don't get enough, it doesn't make much sound. So I have to find the right distance for my uke. 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 3, 4. This is a thing that is muscle memory. So my thought of this in my studies on such things lead me to believe that it's not fair, but we all have a built-in number. And the more reps you do, the sooner you'll hit that number, and you habituate this. And it goes to muscle memory. And then you could think, oh, well, I could do something with my left hand, you know? You know. But until the right hand is in place, don't even worry about the left hand. Don't, and the right hand will go to muscle memory much faster than the left hand. But there's no hurry with anything. And if you're an impatient type, then it may be a little harder. But there's no harm in like it's not like, oh, I got too good at the right hand and I was too late in bringing the left hand in and I ruined it. You know, that's not going to happen. The better the right hand is, the more musical it's going to be. I would even try something like this. I'm just going to play along with that pattern, and now I have to kind of remember it. This is like 105, pretty slow for this song, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and. So that would be a way to kind of scaffold your learning. And I think it's really vital to play along with the music in some form, and then we can just add and add, notes, degrees of difficulty, and chords and stuff. But that rhythm could work in a variety of contexts, but it could be the typical kind of chords, in a lot of this kind of stuff would be minor and would have these kind of chords. Other chords that could be really cool with it might be like major sevens. Playing around with it, there's all kinds of possibilities. You can slow it down, you can speed it up. We have a lot of options and all the things I've given you. So, Christine, did I leave any questions for you with how to use that sheet and how to read it?
I still find it a little hard to read, but when I play along with you, it's easy. If I'm
Okay,
just
okay.
mimicking you.
So, yeah, and so this is just written in rhythm, so it's just those X's mean like we're,
Okay.
and this is on Sound Slice, and so you can listen to it and pretend that I'm somewhere in that computer, and yeah, and maybe I am for all I know. Yeah, and getting used to it. Another thing that is foolproof for these rhythm deals is even just clapping. 1, 2, 3, and. Um, Even doing it without an instrument. 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 3. And it's really interesting how the first 2 beats and the last 2 beats are the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then everything else in between is broken up. 3 and 1 and. So kind of cool. And there's so many rhythmic options with that. And I'm in no way, this is about as deep as my bossa nova game goes. So I don't want to give the idea like it's certainly a really difficult form of music to play. Even percussion wise, there's a lot of triangle a lot of times. There used to be not very far from my house, Brazilian jam sessions they would have, and my former roommate was a hand percussionist, and I would go down there a lot, and it was amazing, but very light music. You could tell it's not like put on the boots and do a flat-footed country waltz to this. It's not going to work. I can, the crossover with soccer, football, the lightness of the movement, and how that's such a thing in Brazil as well. I can feel it. And the Portuguese language lays over these rhythms as well. So, as always, you can hit me up if you have further questions. The video is here as well, Christine. You can play along with me again until you can look at that piece of paper and go, 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 3, 4, until you can own that in your body and go, oh, how did that go again? Oh, here it is. This is why I have it written down. Cool. Any other questions, comments with anything like this, with this rhythm? Okay. Then we've all mastered it. I'll send out our Bossa Nova rhythm certificates shortly. Let's just jump into the song. We can kind of save the scale stuff for later. And so there's a lot of parts here, and we'll talk about them. This was a super fun one to come up with a drum part, for sure. And I might even take this apart a little further, but I want to start with the chords 1. And so you don't need the bossa nova rhythm. I did insert that variant of our 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and that kind of, but this is on the offbeat. So this, I'll just play this isolated for a second, and we'll dig into it. But this little bit simpler chords, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, and. So we've got 1 strong downbeat, 2 offbeats, and as I add, maybe I'll just add the bass and drums here, and kind of play along with it, and then we'll. Yeah, there's so many altered chords in this kind of music. It's really beautiful harmonically. I'll do this. You don't really need to see that. Well, somebody might want to see the bass and drums. If you want to, you can. Let me make this a little bigger, and I'll do a screen share, and then I'll get into the chords themselves. But just kind of play along, and you could take this idea that I had before, which was just work on the right hand first, and then add the left hand. That's always a smart way to go in learning these things. My gosh, they keep moving everything in Zoom. Am I losing it here? As you get older, you keep thinking there's going to be like one day where I've lost it. I can't do anything. Okay, there it is. Okay, here we go. Don't run away. All right. Not today. I found it. So let me clean this up just a tad. So I'm just going to play along with these chords at 105. We'll see how that feels. And just to kind of get a picture of this and hear it with just the bass and the drums. Hold on, I always forget. They keep moving this around, I know. Hold on. I'll share the sound so it'll be a little bit better for you. Okay. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a tricky little chord. you got a little taste of those chords, and then in that rhythm, you could start out with all whole notes, you know, as well. But this idea of having a 2-bar kind of rhythm approach and 2 different rhythms is what I was looking for here. Chords wise, we got that C minor 7. I feel strongest with my first finger on that, and tend to do that regardless if I'm going up or down or which direction. But just to get that clean and kind of having that little bit of a vice, I would call that, you know. Little trick I learned from Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones: put your second finger on top of your first finger for a chord like that, and you have more weight and strength to hold that down really cleanly. And then we have F minor 7, which could also be an A flat 6. We've seen this shape as a 6 chord and a minor 7th chord, but there's that. And then from there, it's not like too much of a stretch, but I want to show you going from measure 4 to measure 5, for instance. Sometimes I'll see people play that chord, take everything off, put everything back, and go, well, I just put this finger right back where it already was. So trying, in saying it like it's easy, but an anchor finger is so vital to smooth chord transitions from there, and another little trick of chord transitions. If you just take 2 chords playing back and forth, you'll get this, but a great way to do it is start with the second chord. And that'll show you how the transition, how you get there. Rather than if it's always coming from this first chord to the second chord, it can make it clearer why you would leave that finger there. Yeah, so we got that. Then this wild chord, which again, I want to look for the fingers that could be in place, but there's not much. I need to, that second finger, I want to even look, if I can't stay on the same string, well, this second finger from the D minor 7 flat 5 is on the 2nd fret. And then when it goes to the G7 sharp 5, it's on the 2nd fret. So I'm just traveling across the strings with that second finger. And then the first finger is kind of barring here, and then just going to that F there. And that's it's one of those chords too that you definitely don't want to be, it's not like let's go to the strum along and play a G7 sharp 5, but with that kind of rhythm it can sound pretty cool, like measures 5 and 6. And you really feel a 2, 5, 1. Yet again, the theme of this last few years of my life. It's all about the 2, 5, 1, and that's what makes it jazz. Then we have back to the C minor 7 with the offbeats 1, and this E minor 7, which is just like a D minor 7, a fret higher, fret wise, 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret. Back to our old friend, the F minor 7. You could play a different voicing of that as well, but I thought I'd keep it consistent. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then again, you're already right there for that D flat major 7. That pinky can stay, and it can stay for the next chord, F minor 7, and the next chord. So looking for those places where you can minimize the movement. Then we're almost out of the woods here. But this last one is kind of the tricky one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And there would be nothing wrong with playing these chords for a week, for a month, for a year, for the rest of your life. You know, whatever. Totally works fine with the song. And I'll throw the, or not really throwing anything, but I'll gently place the melody back in here and play along with these chords. And I'll slow my Mustang down just a little bit. This is 95. And play along if you'd like. And I'll pin this. There we go. Okay. Little blue bossa chords 1, play along, and here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Play that to your heart's content. The way it's written and you really hear it at this tempo, that second measure, say measure 2, would probably, and this would be an extra thing, but you could play that first note maybe as an 8th note or a quarter note, but with a rest in between. So like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1. But it's such an easy thing to write on a piece of paper, but like the mechanics of that, you have to relax, let it go. And if we don't have those left-hand mechanics yet, it'd be a little tough. But I'll model that at a little bit faster tempo. You can kind of feel the impulse of dance. Versus keeping them gives your hand a little rest to pulse it. And on and on it goes. How are we sitting with all of that? Oh, whoops, I see there's something in the chat. Awesome. It is pretty. It's beautiful music. Yeah, it's so, it just almost feels like it's directly from the gods or something, you know, the way it's put together. It's yeah, it doesn't seem like it's the same people that put together Camptown races or something, you know. Feels like it's from a little bit higher mountain. Well, from there, we'll look at these other chords, and then we'll take a little break. And they're mostly the same chords, some different voicings, but that rhythm. So that rhythm being that bossa nova rhythm that we learned a little while ago. And I'll slow my roll here a little bit. And these chords are a little bit harder, but I'll show you, if you weren't ready to break them up, I'll take it all the way down to 90. You could just play the chord as it's written as a whole note. I'll just go through some ways to approach these chords too, and then get them kind of back in my cranium as well. I'll go ahead and take out that melody for now. And yeah, and there's a bunch of choices I made for you, and a lot more movement with this, but a lot of things I've noticed with bossa nova guitar stuff. A lot of times they like the same chord form for the 1 and the 4 chords. So rather than playing like they would be so you're just learning where a 1 chord, 4 chord, my first finger's on the 3rd fret, that's called 3rd position. My first finger's on the 8th fret, that's called 8th position. And so I'll just do a whole note run through, unless there's like on a double measure, I'll play half notes. I think that's just the end. And C minor. F minor. And now this is a cool one here. Oops, where is it? Nope, it's not there. There, sorry. 7, 8, 8, 8. Let me get that. But that, not the right sound there. 3 and 1. 4. Here's a 2. 5. And that's such a cool chord. That's C minor 9 and up a minor 3rd, E flat minor 9, and there's our A flat 6, D flat minor 7. And let me, oh yeah, D flat 9. And then this one, that's a really, well, I'll go through that for you. It takes me a minute to get my brain in this. I'll play through it again. I played through it a couple times. So the first time, do the same thing I did, just trying to get the left hand worked out and going. There's, this isn't the time to get that bossa nova rhythm worked into it yet, and then we'll work on adding it. I'll just kind of loop this a little bit, and let's see if I can do this. Pin this, yeah. And here I go. No. Why does that not work? Okay, 1, 2, 3, C minor. Up to F minor. Down 1 fret to D minor 7 flat 5. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not ready to put these two together yet. So hopefully we're seeing that this could be a song you work on for years, because it definitely has some challenges. One thing that's coming up for me with this right now is I'm just kind of relearning it and getting the chord sequence at that tempo. It is a killer on the hand. And a lot of times adults are so afraid, oh, I don't have it down. It's like, speed this thing up and it's going to be less fatiguing. This is another thing. I've had this happen, especially with bass students for some reason, but I think it would work with anything. And that practicing slower than you're going to play it can be a great study, and practicing it about the tempo you're gonna, would be the target tempo is a great study, and practicing is faster, as much as you did slower, do as much faster. But in the faster practice, I've noticed that the left hand organizes itself faster than our brains organize it. And if we're always doing it slowly, our brain is running everything. What fret number, where's the chord, is this that we can kind of do that. We're not really playing music like that. And that if we just, it's like, oh, after a while, our left hand just figures it out. And it's like, oh, what? And if somebody asked you, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm playing the song. I don't really know. And so just a little thing to consider. And the fatigue is always a thing. Um, and and this is definitely um, such light kind of music too. We wanna take it easy. Um, and just while I'm here with this, it's always a good idea to thank your hands for being functional and being at the end of your arms and being able to do anything. And it's never a bad idea to stretch them out a little bit, each finger. Even try to get that orientation that we would use in this of bringing a thumb kind of inside the hand here and the fingertips to the thumb, and just be like kind of cognizant of the fact that these fingertips are the magical part. And in the same way that this music is light, dancing music, our fingertips are like the balls of our feet dancing on the strings on the fretboard. And so we want that more than like the flat-footed, boot-clad dance of the pad of the finger. And so all of these little things, I don't think I can say this once and go, oh, and everyone's like, oh, got it. You have to find it in your own hands, but want to invite, basically going here rather than here. And if like the sock puppet hand shape, I see people do it, as they're learning, is like pushing their hand away from the instrument, and it's like, oh, I get that F chord, versus like over time we're like right in there, and some of these chord things we've done in the past, you can't sock puppetize those without putting yourself in the hospital kind of, but like just finding these shapes and patterns, and also that potential of the pivot, because there's really only two orientations. There's a parallel orientation, which I'm calling this, where it's just basically in the palm of your hand and you could play anything in a 4-fret span. Or there's chords that have more than one note on the same fret number. I could go to this one we did here. So if I'm parallel on this D minor 7 flat 5, it is really hard to get 4 fingers there. And so what I want to do is pivot back here, and that's where the thumb is attached, and go, oh, there's this place where I just get to right there, and this like magic. Okay, that's it. Yeah, least amount of effort, the most clarity. But a lot of times if I'm it's like we're fighting uphill if I'm trying to make that chord 7, 8, 8. Oh God, I like get that finger in there, when all I have to do is this. But those are the only two kind of orientations, this kind of angle, and if I'm playing, you don't want that angle on a bar chord like this. You want the parallel, which will give you, you can really line up there. But when we have multiple fingers there, our hand shape doesn't line up. So we want that pivot. Well, let's leave it there at 7:31 and take a little break, unless anybody has any pressing questions with that. And let's say 37 minutes past the hour, we'll come back.